Thanks to our distinguished speakers from Vera Network, Ifstone, and Chain Energy Reserve for sharing their perspectives. Next will be a speech bring mass adoption and sustainable developer monetization to every blockchain given by Bytom, co-founder of Celer Network. Welcome.
All right. Hey, guys. Hi, everyone. We don't have a big crowd, so if you have any question during the presentation, just raise your hand, and we can make it as interactive as possible. So I'm Mo from Celer, and I'm going to talk about some more kind of a cheerful and interesting and kind of a fun topic related to gaming, related to how we bring adoptions to blockchains, and also sustainable monetization to the developers who are building on blockchain by using our Layer 2 scalability platform. So first, what is Celer? Celer is a Layer 2 scalability platform that can operate on any kind of a blockchain. It accelerates existing blockchain transactions, not only for payment transactions, but also for smart contract transactions. The functionality it brings can accelerate the smart contract transactions, especially those interactive and those applications that requires interactive human interactions to be extremely low latency. And also during the interaction process, there is essentially no fee related to these kind of interactions. So Celer has a holistic technology architecture and also economic architecture. So in the technology architecture, it is basically realizing the stuff that I talked about in terms of the transaction latency reduction and cost reduction, while still maintaining 100% secure with the Layer 2 security guarantee with the entire dispute mechanism built in. So think of Layer 2 as this thing. That is, we're not treating the Layer 1 blockchain as a computer engine, or we're not treating the entire Layer 1 blockchain as a processing engine, but instead, we treat it as a triaging, and we treat it as an arbitration system. So we execute most of the stuff off-chain, but retain the evidence. And whenever needed, we'll be able to bring all the evidence back to chain to basically challenge the validity of the off-chain transactions. And accompanying all these technology architecture is a separate economic architecture called C-economy. That is securing the entire network to make sure the state is 100% valid and state is 100% available, even if not always all the clients is online all the time. So if you guys are familiar with Lightning Network, this is a generalized problem of Lightning Network's watchtower problem, and we solve that using something called a state guardian network. And also we solve the liquidity locking and shortage problem of the Layer 2 system by using liquidity backing auction and also proof of liquidity commitment mining. So these are all the technical stuff that I'm going to talk about today. Now, we recently launched our first alpha version of the mainnet called Cygnus. And during the Cygnus, what's our goal here is to make the mainnet launch immediately useful from day one. So our theme for the mainnet launch is to play to earn and build to monetize. And we launched essentially three things for this mainnet. Aside from the underlying architecture of what we have as Celer Network. The first thing is called CelerX, an esport gaming platform where players can play esport game, compete with each other, and win cryptocurrencies. And then the second is something called CelerX Gaming SDK that is specifically targeted for game developers who had no previous blockchain experience to build a game easily on Celer. And also Celer Web SDK that is still a Web3 interface for the broader blockchain developer community. Now let's talk through each of them. So first, CelerX. So what CelerX provides for the user comparing to traditional application is that it's real-time interactive, and it's also zero gas fee. You don't even feel there's gas fee concept in this application at all. There's no friction for even the normal users. And for the normal users, it's instant payout. We also connected with fiat on-ramp and off-ramp, and also secured finally by the blockchain to enable all the fairness and the construct enabled by the underlying blockchain technology. Now, how does that look? Let me just show you a screen recording I just did earlier today. So you can see in this game, in this application right now, we only have two games. One is called Fish Jump, the other is Gomoko. And if you guys know, this is 5 in a row, a very famous Asian China game. And what's happening right now is that you matched with someone who are also playing the game. And for the first game, you're basically trying to get a higher score. And for the second game, you're basically trying to win the guy by forming a 5 in a row first. Whoever formed the 5 in a row win the game. So all these stuff, especially the second one, each and every move of the game is conducted by a generalized state channel transaction. And you can see there's absolutely no delay in this process. So this is the advantage that enabled by Celer, that you can build now this kind of very interactive games on blockchain without actually any additional friction that you would imagine to have in your traditional blockchain system. So in 7 days, we had about 4,500 plus players. OK, yeah, this is actually, the slide is messed up. There are some more data on this. But we just recently passed the 1 million mark on our platform. That is, we have a total processed 1 million rewards. $1 million rewards was given out to about 10,000 users who played 200K games in 88 different countries. And if you check the statistic today, I think the number just jumped to 1.4 million. So this thing is taking off. Why this thing is taking off is because during the user study that we did, these are the real user feedback we got from our Telegram group and also from our support email. That is basically saying that, OK, now you guys made something that has the same kind of experience, just like another app. It doesn't feel like a blockchain app where you click any button, you wait for 2 minutes. It just click, and it works. And this is what you can build with layer 2 stuff. Now, we have, these are the coverage of the country, and comparing to, one question you might ask is that, OK, how this is different from just a traditional gaming platform where you can play real money? Well, the difference here is, in traditional gaming settings, you don't have immediate access to this global and flat financial network, but in blockchain, you do. And with this kind of scalability technology, you immediately have that and also do not have all the frictions associated with it. So the immediate question we got from many developers are, can we actually build games on CelerX? Do I need to understand CelerX technology? Do I need to handle all the off-chain payment stuff? Do I need to create a wallet for my users? Do I need to maintain the passphrase for my users? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Now, a single answer for all of that question is no. You don't need to do any of that. To achieve that, we proposed something called the CelerX Game Developer SDK. And it's specifically targeted for HTML5 games, like the Facebook Insta games, and also like the WeChat mini games. Those games can be instantly ported. Those games which has millions and millions of users can instantly port to Celer's construct by just adding 2 lines of code. That is not the illustration. That is literally the 2 lines of code you need to add in the JavaScript code to make it be able to run inside of CelerX platform. And just in a very short period of time, we have about 200 developers already building games on our platform. And if you're interested, check it out at portal.celerx.app. So we also did another important thing that is open source a end-to-end decentralized application that build using generalized state channel technology, and that's basically the Gomoko game. We have been championing the Gomoko game for a while. It's very end-to-end. It has all the functionality involved in a generalized state channel, and it has a bunch of functionality on our GitHub. And these are the 4 repositories that is kind of listed here. The first is the decentralized generalized state channel smart contract, which is in the C app is. And the other is the native HTML5 game logic, which is in the Celer example game logic. And then there's this integration with Celer's SDK, which is in the CelerX JavaScript library. And finally, you can tie all the things up and just test it in a sandbox environment in the CelerX Gaming SDK. So that's about CelerX. Now, Celer Network, what we are trying to do here is we're trying to not only just build a platform, but also find a vertical that we can cut in and also bring some meaningful developers to let them on board, build games, and provide a non-traditional way for them to monetize their game. So for those developers who release their games on our platform, they're also cutting a transaction fee when users are competing. So they have been pretty happy about the result they're getting. And so far, we have connected the 3 third-party games into our platform. Now, but beyond that, we're also still part of the blockchain community, of course, and we are growing with the entire Web3 ecosystem. And therefore, we also have the CelerX SDK, which is a very open platform exposing all the low-level APIs that you can use for the layer 2 construct, including to build a financial derivative trading market, to build non-custodian exchanges, and to build any sort of micropayment-based services that you can imagine. Now, one thing that if I were to kind of mention one thing about the Celer SDK, that is there's something called conditional payment, off-chain conditional payment. So if you ever heard about Lightning Network or like some sort of like payment network, what this payment network can give you is the capability to send just a simple off-chain payment. And one way to look at a generalized state channel is to look at this as a way to enable something that is much more generalized than simple payment. However, if we want to kind of gradually move towards that generalized state channel vision, let's talk about one extremely useful design pattern. That is, you can send a conditional payment off-chain that is conditionally depending on any kind of on-chain verifiable result. And that on-chain verifiable result can be a result of a smart contract call. It can be a true or false value. It can be a off-chain generalized smart contract result, like the Gomho game, like the result of the Gomho game. It can be anything. But imagine that now you can provide this capability to just send across the network a off-chain conditional payment that is private, instant, and extremely low fee. And with that construct, you can immediately build a lot of stuff using this. You can build usage-based car insurance, peer-to-peer electricity, metering and payment system, peer-to-peer social betting, fine-grained metering, with some cloud services with certain kind of SLA guarantees, instant order matching, or prediction market, and all that stuff. So many of the stuff, there are already hackers and developers start to build on this, ecosystem, and we look forward to have some of that launch in the next quarter or so. OK, I think I got a pretty short talk, and that's all from me. Yeah, thank you.